Some researchers studying mental health and spiritual care have found patterns that echo something Jesus taught over 2,000 years ago. Acknowledging our own limits can open the way to greater calm and resilience. Recent work on self-compassion and grace-filled living shows links between humility, stronger relationships, and steadier peace of mind. The very first beatitude, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven," points us to this truth. Humility isn't just a lofty ideal, it's a doorway to rest for the soul. So let's begin by considering what it feels like to finally set a hidden weight down. If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. These words from Jesus to Peter in John 21 cut right to the heart of comparison. But before we journey together, make sure you are with us. Now prepare yourself, we begin.
In Jesus' presence daily.
Think about what it's like to go through your day carrying a load you can't put down. You can't see it, and no one else can either, but you feel the weight pressing on you with every step. Now picture what that weight holds. The quiet worry, the constant pressure to keep it all together, the unspoken need to prove you're handling life just fine. That unseen strain shapes the way you speak, decide, and connect with others. Starting empty is about laying that burden aside. For many of us, strength is treated like a performance. At work, you feel you must appear capable even in uncertainty. At home, you try to hold everyone else together while you feel stretched thin yourself. In friendships, you may smile and say, "I'm fine," even when you're not. Underneath is the belief that any show of weakness will make others doubt you. Over time, that way of living becomes routine, but it quietly drains you. The more we push to appear self-sufficient, the lonelier we become. Anxiety builds as the effort to keep the mask in place grows heavier. Eventually, weariness sets in, and when no one sees the depth of our struggle, it's hard to find real support. Then along come Jesus' words, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." They cut across the grain of everything we're told. Culture says to gather more strength, more knowledge, more control. But Jesus begins his most famous message by blessing those who arrive with nothing to prove. It's like running a long race while holding your breath. Determination might get you part of the way, but sooner or later your body demands air. In the same way, life apart from dependence on God eventually runs us dry. We were not designed to draw on our own strength alone, we were made to draw on His. Psychologists studying human connection have found that compassion and vulnerability are linked to deeper relationships and better emotional health. In plain terms, letting others see our need doesn't make a bond weaker, it makes it stronger. This same truth is seen in faith. When we openly admit our need for God, His grace meets us in that very place. Research in spiritual care has found similar patterns. Studies show that when people receive spiritual support during serious illness, they often report less distress and greater peace near the end of life. Other research suggests that spiritual coping can be linked to improved resilience and even longer survival in some patients. These findings echo Jesus' teaching. There is a blessing in coming to God with an empty, open spirit. That's the heart of starting empty. It's not about pretending to be incapable. It's about stopping the exhausting work of carrying what was never yours to carry alone. As you loosen your grip on control, you open your hands to receive His wisdom, His peace, and His strength. When we let go of the constant need to have every answer and plan every step, we create space for God to work in ways we might not expect. Peace doesn't arrive when we've mastered every part of life. Peace comes when there is room for Him to fill. So, what might change if you stop trying to look stronger than you feel and came to God exactly as you are? That's where blessing begins. And it leads us right to the deeper question, what does it actually mean to be poor in spirit? Now for the what does poor in spirit actually mean? This first beatitude goes straight to the heart of how life in God's kingdom begins. It doesn't describe people with low value or worthlessness, and it's not about becoming timid or having no confidence. Instead, it names an inner posture, seeing ourselves truthfully and recognizing our absolute need for God. Being poor in spirit isn't putting yourself down. It's holding a right perspective, one that faces our limits and leans fully on Him. Some hear the word poor and think it implies weakness or inferiority. But Scripture consistently shows God working through ordinary, flawed people who allowed Him to lead. Their effectiveness didn't flow from their own capacity but from their dependence. Scholars note that poor in spirit points to humble reliance on God's grace, not a sense of being less valuable. Our world puts independence and self-reliance at the top of the list of strengths. In contrast, Jesus turns that list upside down. In His kingdom, true strength begins with dependence. It's not helplessness, but a deliberate choice day by day to trust His wisdom over our own. That choice comes from humility, the kind that says, I can't do this on my own, and I don't have to. The original wording of poor in spirit can be read as a picture of someone aware of their inner need, ready to receive from God. It has nothing to do with material wealth. It's the awareness that without His presence and mercy, we're missing what matters most. When our hearts stay open in this way, we are ready for Him to fill us. You might picture it as a simple morning moment. Instead of jumping straight into tasks, someone prays quietly, Lord, I need your wisdom more than my own ideas. I need your patience more than my own strength. Please guide me. That small prayer shifts their focus from self-sufficiency to God's sufficiency, and it changes how they step into the day. Many commentators say this first beatitude is the doorway to all the others. Without a heart aware of its need for God, hungering for righteousness or showing mercy becomes far harder. When we start from dependence, the other kingdom attitudes follow more naturally. There's an illustration from real life that reflects this. A young missionary went overseas ready and prepared, but her plans unraveled. Language learning went slowly. Her health suffered, and nothing worked as she'd mapped it out. When she admitted to a mentor that she felt she'd failed, he reminded her she was called to serve, not to replace God. That reminder freed her from the burden of proving herself. She began to rely on prayer for even small things. The difficulties didn't vanish, but her joy returned because she no longer faced them alone. This kind of humility reshapes everyday choices. You may react less sharply in an argument when you remember the situation isn't yours to control. You may give more freely, trusting God to provide. You may admit a need sooner, instead of reaching the point of exhaustion first. In these ordinary ways, dependence on God quietly changes the way you live. When you rest in the truth that your worth comes from God, you stop measuring it by performance, position, or praise. His love for you is already complete. That is what it means to be poor in spirit, not to think less of yourself, but to see yourself clearly and rest in His strength. Ask yourself, in which area of my day do I most try to prove I have it together? Holding that question can open the door to moments where you let God be the source of your stability and peace. And in those moments, you may find the first steps toward living this beatitude in a real and practical way. So how do we actually make poor in spirit part of everyday life? This is the simple daily practice of spiritual poverty, choosing habits that keep your heart open to God's strength instead of closing in on your own. It begins with honesty before God. That means allowing yourself to name where you are weak, unsettled, or unsure without dressing it up. One of the most practical ways to do this is with a short morning confession and prayer. Before looking at your phone or starting your to-do list, take 1 minute to speak directly to Him. You might say, Lord, today I'm short on patience, please give me yours. Or, Father, I'm anxious about the meeting ahead, help me rest in your control. This keeps the focus on His sufficiency from the moment the day begins. A second step is to set a visual cue to keep your focus steady. Write Matthew 5:3, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, on a card. Place it by your coffee maker, your desk, or your bathroom mirror. Every time you see it, pause for just a moment. Let it remind you that God's grace does not depend on your performance, and His presence is already with you. Small cues like this can quietly shift the tone of your day. The third step is for the moments when stress begins to rise. When you feel rushed, frustrated, or tempted to handle it all on your own, stop for a few seconds before reacting. Take a slow breath and quietly pray, Lord, I need you here. Those few seconds can change your tone of voice, your words, or your next decision. Over time, this pause becomes a natural reflex that draws you back to Him instead of deeper into strain. Clinical research on compassionate-based interventions and spiritual care has found that structured spiritual routines and compassionate attention are linked to better coping and greater emotional well-being. In other words, these small moments of turning to God are not just good for your soul, they help steadiness and clarity take root in your mind as well. There are real-world examples of what this can look like in practice. Don Flo, owner of Flo Automotive, reshaped his company's sales model so that every customer paid the same fair price, without haggling. It was a deliberate choice built on principles of fairness and mercy. That change built trust inside and outside the company, and over time, it strengthened relationships with staff and the community. While it was a business decision, it reflected the same heart posture as being poor in spirit, setting aside control for equitable, grace-shaped action. Spiritual poverty practiced daily often feels like quiet freedom. When you admit your need to God at the start of the morning, when His word is in front of your eyes during the day, when you pause rather than push ahead on your own, it changes how you move through the hours. Problems may not vanish, but they lose their power to press you into isolation or self-reliance. Instead, you begin to notice how often help and wisdom meet you in the moment you ask. Before you move on, choose one of these 3 steps and try it for 5 minutes right now, or commit to it for the next 3 mornings. Simple action will plant the habit in your hands before it slips from your mind. These everyday choices to lean on God are what give depth to the Beatitudes. They move the words from something we know to something we live, shaping our hearts from the inside out. And when the roots of these practices take hold, they begin to nourish a life of quiet strength, resilience, and joy that Jesus describes at the very start of His Sermon on the Mount. As we close, remember where we've been. We looked at why starting empty brings peace in a world of pressure, what it means to be poor in spirit, and how to live it through 3 small daily steps. What if, by practicing one habit of humility for just a week, you noticed a small but real drop in anxiety and a stronger sense of God's presence? Many studies and spiritual caregivers see this pattern. Humility, honest confession, and steady spiritual practices often walk hand in hand with deeper peace and resilience. Which of the 3 steps will you try this week? Share one sentence about it in the comments.
In Jesus' presence daily.